Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. There are over 700 vegetable farms in Vermont, according to a recent survey by the United States Department of Agriculture. The crops range from A to Z, from artichokes to zucchini. No matter what the crop, each one must be washed, packed, and stored before it's sold. The process of getting the veggies ready for market is called post-harvest. Post-harvest requires planning, coordination, and for Small Axe Farm in Barnet, Vermont, the expertise of UVM Extension's agricultural engineering team. The owners of Small Axe spoke with Across the Fence about ways that Extension is making a positive impact.
This is Small Axe Farm up in Barnet, Vermont. I run the farm with my husband, Evan, and it's a 1-acre off-grid, no-till, regenerative farm. 70% of the crops that we grow are greens-based, so salad greens and salad green mixes. We are really diverse. We have a CSA, and we offer custom ordering through an online store to our community, so we sell everything from every kind of vegetable you can imagine. The greenhouses are a big part of the mix, and we really use them hard. We use them for shoulder season extension and then for hot summer crops. So right now they're absolutely full of salad greens, where just a few short weeks ago they were full of tomatoes. We are trying to move product through our farm within a sort of a 24-hour period. So we're out here early in the morning. Everybody works on harvest. Everything comes down the hill, into the farm building, through the wash station, through the spray tables, through the spinners, out to the pack room, packed out, put into the root cellar, and then that next morning everything ships out. So it's just pretty critical that we're efficient with, getting everything through that station so that we can get it out the next day. We're off-grid, so we don't have a ton of excess power, and that's a piece of why we need to be so efficient. We're not going to be holding on to things for a week and then selling them, which is great in a lot of ways because a super fresh product goes out every time it leaves the farm. It's really 24 hours since it's been cut.
This is our wash pack building. In this building, we wash all of our produce, package it, and prep it for cold storage. And then we also grow microgreens in this building as well. Prior to building this building, we washed just outside and on the edge, under the overhang on the edge of a shed, and we didn't really have an internal wash pack space. And that works fine. It's just a lot of work to keep things clean, to store things. Now we can do everything in the same place. We can, from bringing and washing our vegetables to cleaning our bins and storing them, to having all of our packing materials all in the same place. That's how we designed this building. Everything's modular in there, everything's on wheels, so if our farm grows, the building is big enough to handle that because we can reconfigure things as needed. One thing that is really important to know about market farms is that the wash pack area is always the bottleneck. It's always the thing that if you grow or if you have problems, they're generally going to be there. There's always problems growing crops in the field. Those are solvable over time. We're diverse, so if we lose a few crops in a given season or for part of a season, that's okay. But if the wash pack area cannot wash the amount of vegetables we need to in the time that we need to wash them, then that's a problem for us. It creates inefficiencies because it's hard to grow your farm when it's inefficient, because then you're all of a sudden paying employees to work inefficiently. Having an efficient wash pack space is critical for that. So then you can pay an employee a good wage and have them work efficiently, and it works out well for everybody. The reality of having this efficient building as a place to grow microgreens and then also to wash and pack our produce has allowed us to really increase our output as a farm. Last year, we had about $115,000 in gross sales, and we'll be closer to $150,000 this year in gross sales. And having this building is a large part of that due to increased microgreens productivity, and more importantly, having a wash pack system that can handle that increased volume.
So I'm really looking forward to what you're going to do here in this space by adding a slab and a roof.
Yeah, this is going to be great. It's going to.
We as a team like to work together to try to, improve farms and make them more lean, more efficient, and really improve the lifestyle for the members of our community and our friends and neighbors. I mean, one of the benefits that they've gotten out of upgrading their wash pack is like a 20% growth in sales. And they haven't increased any acreage or tunnels. That's just refining the process.
UVM extension has been just a great discovery for us. Just finding them through the farm viability program was super important in so many ways. Once we were introduced to them and started talking about what our needs were, it just expanded the conversation. We had a few questions, and then by the end they had answered so many more that we hadn't even gotten to yet. And so when we built that space, we built it once and we're just loving it. And we didn't have to make all those mistakes to figure it all out. So that's been invaluable for us.
We didn't have a lot of people to ask questions to, so being able to ask questions about how do we go about something, what are some good ideas for, say, washable wall surfaces, for ideas for floor drains, for configuration of a wash pack station, we were able to have people that we could just ask the question. And I think that's one of the things about living in Vermont is having access to the UVM extension service. People pay a lot of money for really expensive farming courses. And a lot of those questions are getting answered. We can get answered for free through our friends, our neighbors, through UVM extension, and through just putting it out there in this vibrant farming community.
Our thanks to Small Axe Farm in Barnet. What an operation. And joining us now via Zoom is the leader of the agricultural, the engineering team of Extension, Chris Callahan. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Fran.
So when a farmer contacts the agricultural engineering team, are they looking for help for a specific issue, or is it more wide-ranging?
Yeah, it really depends on the farm. It's all the above. It's everything from, hey, I saw this thing, I forget what it's called, or I don't know who makes it or how to reach them. Can you help me get that information, which happened this morning? To, hey, we are expanding like crazy in the next year, and we have no space, and we know we need to plan out a wash pack area to meet that need. And we don't know where to begin. Can you help us get started?
Awesome. Well, in the farm that was featured, Small Axe Farm, they have some unique circumstances. They're off-grid, and the farm is only 1 acre. So do those conditions change the design for post-harvest buildings?
Absolutely. We take a flexible, holistic, but standardized approach when working with growers, and the main reason for that is every single one of these projects is unique. Every farm is unique, and so, but at the same time, there are lessons that have been learned by the community and by us that can be applied with every new project. So, yes, the unique nature of each farm comes into that discussion, that very early on discussion about what this project should be, and then we go from there with some standard areas of questions that we have.
All right. And, there's also the issue, of course, of storing crops, and Small Axe tries to turn their products around in 24 hours, which is quite remarkable, but it still requires some type of temperature-controlled storage. So what solutions have you come up with?
Yeah, so oftentimes these are actually farmer solutions that we're helping with, and sort of refining a little bit. This is, at Small Axe, they use a very traditional form of cold storage that has a long history. It's root cellaring, and so there's no refrigeration equipment being used. They're using the natural cooler temperature of the earth to keep things cooler. In other places, they might use something called a CoolBot, which is a converted air conditioner to make a refrigerated space. Cool. In other places, are buying refrigeration equipment.
Right.
So it's all over the map.
Well, anyone who's done home improvement projects know that there are unanticipated costs. So what sorts of surprises do you encounter when creating a wash pack space?
Certainly the costs. In the past 3 years, I'd say, maybe even 5 years, especially, the building material costs have been highly variable, especially during the most recent COVID-19 pandemic. Some building materials just haven't been available. So there are those sorts of surprises. The other thing is, I think most people who take on projects like this underestimate the time involved, not just the time of construction, but the time of planning and ordering the materials and
Right.
seeing that the materials get delivered and all of that. But the other surprises on the positive side are all the little things that you didn't really plan for that might have happened that really make things much better.
Cool. And what do growers tell you that they like the most about their new space?
It's interesting. It's almost never the big dollar items. You know, it's things. It's more qualitative things. It's things like having more space, the natural light, having some light to do the job, the flexibility that the space provides. I mean, you heard Evan refer to that. They're not quite sure where they'll be in 5 years, so having flexibility is really important.
Right.
Clean spaces, having a way of organizing your work and the things that you need to do that work. And at the end of the day, increase sales.
Exactly.
Can't argue with that.
Certainly. And use of washing machines. I mean, that's so, you know, it's what a great tool.
Yeah, it certainly is. When you talk about spinning greens dry, and if anybody who's done that at home with a home spinner, it knows, that's a really neat thing to have. And when you think about doing that, not just for your family, but for a market, a larger market, there's a need for a larger capacity way of doing that. And it's one of these cases where the farms at the scale of small axe are kind of caught in the middle between that home size green spinner and relatively large commercial green spinners. And so what's the solution? Farmers figured it out.
It does
They
the
turned a
trick.
washing machine into a green spinner.
So, as always, farmers are encouraged to contact the agricultural engineering team at UVM Extension to learn more. You've even put workshops online, so tell us more about that.
Yeah, this post-harvest planning approach that we talked about today, we've done as a workshop in person. We call it post-harvest planning for efficiency, safety, and profitability. We took the step and put that into a series of YouTube videos. It's available on our website as a playlist, and it really is sort of a choose your own adventure. Pick what you want to think about and look at today.
And there's the website. Chris Callahan, thank you so much for your work in the field and for joining us today. Awesome work.
Thank you, Fran.
And thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.